Dino.
Boop, boop.
Cool. That worked.
It worked.
Holy mackerel, we're getting better.
Well, there.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Outreach for June the 4th.
Yay.
Astronomy show. Wow, June the 4th.
Where's time go?
Yeah, really.
In circles. No, never mind.
Circles.
Okay, my name is Chris Kerwin. I'm your host this evening and creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm an amateur astronomer, a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, the New Brunswick chapter. First of all, I'd like to introduce our two regular co-hosts of the show this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moonshot Observatory, beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening.
Hello.
And our other regular co-host here on the program, Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in beautiful St. John. Welcome, Mike.
Hi ho.
Hi ho.
Hi ho. It's off. Never mind.
Okay.
Out of focus we go.
Don't want to get bumped. Okay, on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, well, spending time under the summer night sky can be a very enjoyable experience. Sure it can. Learning to make the most of that experience is what we try and teach here each week. Our last few shows before summer break will probably involve a little bit of a discussion around summertime observing activities that you can enjoy. So one of the activities which can be fun to attempt is learning how to make photographs with star trails. Tonight, we're going to learn how to do them together, and Paul's going to be our guide. Yay!
Hey.
Yeah. All right. Also on tonight's show, Mike will offer us another Vinyl Bud treasure to enjoy. It's a brand new one.
A brand new one. It's an original.
Yes, sir. Very timely, he says. That's all he's telling us. Paul will provide us with another interesting Rosanna's fun fact. I'll have a quick look at what to watch for in this week's sky.
Yeah.
Not going to look very good, but depending where you live. And we'll have all of your wonderful photo submissions to share. I'm also going to mention too that our contest ends tomorrow at midnight. Shoot the Moon contest for entries. So got a nice pile of entries from kids there and adults as well. So anyway, we'll be talking a little bit about that. So this is a family-friendly interactive live broadcast. So for those of you joining us from a YouTube channel or Facebook page, we are happy to try and answer all of your astronomy questions here in real time as well. And of course, we'd like to welcome back all of those who have been joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you for your support, Rogers. So let's get started, guys, with tonight's program and a discussion around how to make star trails.
All right. The long and dusty
From
trail.
San Antonio, Texas. Cool. Hey, Mark.
Yeah. So,
Better than we got.
Texas. Oh my goodness. Well, they don't have forest fires down there, do they?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
In forest, do they? Maybe they do.
No, burning cactus or something.
There you go.
Cacti.
All right. Well, I'm going to get started with the Star Trail situation. The reason I chose this project was, first of all, we're going to be doing it at a photography club that I'm part of. And so I really wanted to break it down and see how simple this could be or how complex it could be. I didn't know which way it was going to be until I started doing them. Because when I first got into astrophotography years and years ago, which would have been back in I'm going to say 2012, that was one of the first things you do is do the star trails. So you can, figure out how to use your camera at night, how to focus, how to do all these things. And I thought, okay, you know what? I think that's something a lot of us could use because summer is here upon us. A lot of us are going to be doing some camping or spending time outside in the night sky because it's warm and pleasant to be out there. And there's a lot of really cool things in the sky to see at night. But some things that are there that you can create stuff with are the stars, not necessarily the constellations that everybody sees, but some of the shapes that you can actually make with these things. And they do vary. And so I thought, well, star trails would be a good one because it's something that anybody can do. And after you see the presentation, you'll see why. But it also leads you into Milky Way stuff. And then from Milky Way stuff, then you get into constellations, or you could do one or the other. But it's a nice segue into astrophotography if you want to get there. And astrophotography doesn't mean that you have to be somebody with an observatory in the backyard and, $12,000 worth of gear and all this. Astrophotography is just going out and taking pictures of the night sky that you enjoy and sharing them with your friends and yourself and just having that enjoyment. And something as simple as a star trail is astrophotography. So, so this is a really, really nice, easy way to get into it with something that you probably already have anyway to use. Most people have a camera and stuff. So I'll get right into it. I'm going to share my screen. And where do I start? Right there. So let me know when you can see that screen.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay. So star trail. So I thought I might break this down into two segments. It depends on how quickly we go through this one. Because there's two parts to any kind of photography, whether it be astrophotography or daytime photography. You got to go out and you got to take the pictures. That's considered the acquisition. That's how you get the information or the data. But once you got it, what do you do with it? You got to put it in your computer. And for the most part, most people do some form of editing, which is called processing. So there are the two steps, of course, are acquisition and processing. So part one of what I'm going to do tonight is called acquisition. And but it's something we've gone through before, so I don't think it's going to be a surprise in a lot of ways. So star trails, first of all, what are they? So star trails are images created using long exposures in tandem with the Earth's rotation. So the stars are stationary in space, and the Earth rotates every 23 hours, 56 minutes, and this rotation is evidence of us moving from west to east. The movement is not detected by humans, by us, and gives us the illusion that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, when in fact we are turning toward the east, but we allude to the sun moving toward us. In the northern hemisphere, Polaris is the star most center their cameras on, as it has the least movement from our perspective, and this position gives the circular effect in our star trail images. This complete rotation is 23 hours, 58 minutes, and is what is known as a sidereal day. Okay, so star trails. So you'll see that there's two images here, two that I've taken recently because I had to kind of get my head back into how to do these. And it was really quite simple to do. So star trails that are near the celestial pole make the small circular patterns. And the stars nearest the celestial equator make the long arcs. So each of the stars move westward by 15 degrees every hour, and thus that's the actual movement that we're recording. I'm going to see, whoops, I don't know if I can make this bigger. No, I can't. But what I wanted to impress upon you is on this first image here, we're looking to what appears to be what you would look like in the toilet when you flush it. It looks like a vortex, right? That's kind of what a star trail, if you look at a dead center, is. So what is in the dead center there is Polaris, right there, that one star that to us doesn't look like it's moving at all. And then, of course, everything around it, as it gets further away from that celestial pole, it makes a longer arc in that same period of time, and thus giving us these nice circles. Now, if you go towards the equator, which is the exact center between the North and the South Pole, you'll see in this image over here, this is the North Star, but we're coming out now toward the equator. So if you're actually shooting at the equator, which is right between either north and west or east or north and east, you'll get the straight lines that you do right here. That straight line is the equator, and then these lines start actually arcing back the other way. So there are some very cool star trails you can make with that kind of thing too. So you don't necessarily have to be able to know where is the North Star, and I can't do star trails because I don't know where the North Star is. The whole sky is moving. It just moves in different segments as far as where we are. So what do we need to capture star trails? Okay, well, let's get into that. So we need to have, in most cases, we need to have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Most people have a DSLR kicking around somewhere these days, or they know somebody in the family who's got one who never uses it. It sits in the closet. So we have access to them. So we want a camera that can be run in the manual mode, and this will be the most effective. And also, we need to either have a built-in timer or external intervalometer that will be needed, because we need to actually do some sequence running when we do star trails. So an intervalometer is something that you can buy very, very inexpensively. You can get them for like $20, $30. So they're very cheap, but they are actually proprietary. So if you have a Canon camera, you have to buy a Canon intervalometer if you have a Nikon or whatever the case. However, most of the current cameras today have that built into them now. So depending on what kind of camera and how old it is, you may have that built in. So an intervalometer is used to set the intervals for your exposures. And there's 3 parameters, and those are the exposure time. How long do you want the exposure to be? The number of exposures, how many am I going to take? And the time between the exposures. So, and we'll get into that in a little bit, and I'll show you why that's actually an important number. And so again, this intervalometer or timer may be built into your camera already. You're also going to need a wide angle lens. The wider the better. Wide angle lenses allow a larger area of the sky to be captured. Now, most cameras' kit lenses are 18 to 55 or near that or somewhere around there. And that's actually a really good lens to use for star trails. You just open it up to 18 millimeters and you've got a really wide swath of the sky. So you don't need to go out and buy a special lens for it if you got a kit camera, because you'll probably have that kit lens anyway. But the lens that you choose, excuse me, the wider the better. Now, faster lenses will allow shorter exposures, which means fewer images if you're looking for brightness in something. And that almost relates more to Milky Way shots, but in any event, which means fewer images, but it's also giving you lower ISOs. So instead of having to crank up your ISO to get some images happening on your camera, you can leave those ISO values a little bit lower if your lens is a little more efficient. So if you don't have a lens and you're going to buy one, you can, if you have a Canon or a Nikon, you can get what they call a nifty 50. 50 millimeters is a little wide or a little narrow, but you can still get good star trails with a 50 millimeter lens. But if you don't have that, you can buy a lens. When you do, rather, look for one that is f2.8 or f1.8. The lower that number is, then the wider that'll open up, and the more light it's going to allow in. So that's a good thing. You'll want a sturdy tripod. So a solid tripod is a must when doing long exposure photography. Now, many things like wind and vibration can and will blur your images. So having a center hook allows for attaching weight to anchor your tripod. So if you look at this tripod here with a camera on it, there's a little hook down the bottom. And you may have seen those on tripods and wonder what the heck's that for. That's exactly what it's for, is if you've got your tripod set up and there's a little wind or something that's unstable, you take carry a plastic bag with you, fill it with rocks and hang it on that hook. And that will actually secure your tripod to the ground and make it a much, much more sturdy platform for your camera. Solid legs will help stabilization. So if you're buying a tripod and you can spend a little bit more on a good tripod, it's always in good order to do so, because the sturdier the legs, and again, the more stable your camera will be on your tripod. And a flexible ball head makes it even more efficient for angles. So sometimes you might be shooting a shot that's almost straight up in the sky. For some reason, you may want to shoot that way. And if you do, some of these tripods that we have that just have the handles on them limit you only to certain angles. But if you got a ball head, you can actually turn that camera in any angle that you want to. So it gives you more flexibility in terms of how you want to place your lens. Now, batteries and memory, the two most forgotten items. Lots of memory will be important when shooting star trails, as there will be plenty of images taken using certain methods. Mike and I talked about this earlier on certain types of methods that you can do to take these star trails. So you want to have a spare memory card on hand in case of A, the card fails, and they do, or B, you got a card that's got a whole bunch of family pictures on that you forgot that you took, and there's only a few spots left. What do? Who's going to get lost in the family for that star trail? Make sure it's not your wife, because it'll be the last star trail you do. But anyway, so you make sure you have your extra memory cards. Spare batteries are a must, and keep them fully charged, as the cool nights will deplete them quicker. And anytime you do anything astro, anybody who's got any experience at it at all knows that the nights are cool, especially here on the eastern coast. So your batteries will run a little less efficient in the cool weather. And plus you want to have spare batteries anyway, because you could be getting into a session where you've got, maybe you want to try 2 or 3 or 4 different star trails on the run of the night. So the more battery power and memory card stuff you have, then the less limited you are going to be if you're having a good time shooting them. Dew control. Now, this is an important one, and this is one, again, that most people either don't think about, or they think about it and they think, ah, well, I won't worry about it. I'm not going to be out that long. It doesn't take long for dew to cover up your camera lens, and that's very important to consider this. So dew is a fact of life on many nights when imaging over long periods of time. Controlling the dew is important as it can ruin your imaging session quite quickly. There are many methods for clearing dew and keeping it off during the temperature swings we get from our warm days to our cool nights. Hand warmers attached with an elastic will do a great job, or you can invest in a dew control system as you see in the bottom image. So that's basically, or you can make one like Mike does. Mike makes them. And all it is just a little band that wraps around your camera. All you need to do is to have it maybe 1 or 2 degrees above ambient temperature, and your lens will stay clear. And you can run it with a little battery pack, or in the case of the hand warmers, you don't need anything because they're efficient within themselves. As they lose their ability to keep things warm, just pop another one on. They're pretty cheap. So let's talk about camera settings now. So this is the one that most people struggle with if they've never been out in the field trying to take a nighttime picture. So the first thing is to set your camera dial to the M mode. We want to go to manual on this. Some people are scared of this, but trust me, once you set these settings up, you're not going to touch them the rest of the night. So if you look at the back of this illustration here, or this illustration on the top, most cameras have a mode dial on top of the camera, and you'll see the M, the AV, the TV, the P, the green A that a lot of people use. That's your automatic setting. You want to use the M setting for manual. Next, you'll need to set your aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. So again, don't be worried about that. On the back of your camera, there's a screen that shows you all of this stuff when you're in live mode. So in this case here, this is a Nikon camera. Someone's going to take what looks like to be a Milky Way shot. So you'll notice on top, it's in the M mode, which means that he's in manual. It says f2.8. So that's the aperture. He's got his lens open nice and wide. And his ISO is at 3200, which is very typical for a Milky Way shot. You'll also notice this little screen right down here, this little mountain sort of looking thing. And what this is your histogram. A good nighttime image, if you have that histogram turned on, and that's just a matter of keep pressing your info button, it'll eventually pop up. And when you take your image, so long as it looks something like this one does, it's going to be to the left. But you want to have it graduating, somewhere towards close to the center, or just below that. Then you've got a good exposure, especially if you're looking to get the foreground in there. Excuse me. You can use auto white balance. That's fine, because if you're shooting in RAW, it doesn't make any difference what white balance you put it on. You can set it afterwards. If you're shooting in JPEG, then you might want to leave it on auto. And that's kind of pretty much the settings that you'll use there. So the recommended starting settings for star trails, now this one here, he set it up for Milky Way, but for star trails are shutter speed between 25 and 30 seconds. And keep in mind that most cameras are limited to, if you're in the manual mode, to a 30-second exposure. They won't go any longer than that. In order to get longer than 30 seconds, you'll have to go to bulb. But we don't need to do any more than 30 seconds on star trails if you're just starting out. ISO 800, which is the photos that I showed you earlier. That's the ISO that I used. And I'm at about a Bortle 4 sky, so I'm in an urban, suburban night sky where I can see stars at night, but there's still lights around me, houses and stuff. So ISO 800 tended to work very, very well under that condition. Excuse me, f2.8, which was my setting. Now, if you've got a kit lens that's 18 to 55, chances are you're going to be about an f3.5 or f4. Just open it up as wide as it'll go, and you'll be fine. If your camera has IBIS in it, which means in-body image stabilization, if you have a newer camera, that features designs that when you're holding a camera, it actually allows you to slow down your speed of your shutter more so you can take longer exposures, and it'll actually steady your camera more. So that is a great thing if you're doing live daytime images, trying to get rid of motion blur. But we want that off when it's on a tripod, because when it's on a tripod, there's nothing to stabilize. The tripod is stable, it's not moving. The camera may sense that it has to want to move because it's the circuits on it, it's going to want to make that movement for you to try to figure that, it should be doing it. So you may end up getting a little bit of a blurred image out of that. So if you do have that built into your camera and it is on, make sure you turn that off. Your lens setup. So to set the lens up, it's really quite simple. If we have that 18 to 55, which is illustrated here in this picture, we're going to first set the lens to the manual focus mode. So when you look at that MF button that's on your lens, make sure you switch that over to MF for manual focus. And then we want to turn off our stabilizer. For the same reason we turn off the stabilization in the camera body, we want to turn off the stabilization on the lens, because we don't want that lens moving on its own because it thinks that it should be because it's in that mode. But it's on a tripod, it will be steady, it's not going to move. Make sure you turn that off. Install your do device at this point. And the reason I say that is because once you've got focus, which took you 25 minutes to do in some cases, once you're used to doing it, you can do it in a couple of minutes. But typically, once you've got focus, you don't want to then strap something around it, knock it out of focus, and you're going to have to refocus anyway. So put the do control on first and then focus with the do control on. That way there, when you're done your focusing, nothing else is going to touch the lens. That's why I recommend that. And then you want to zoom out to your widest angle because you want as much of that sky as you can get. So if you're not using a prime lens, which only has one focal length, and this wouldn't apply, any zoom type of lens, 18 to 55, 14 to 24, whatever it is, zoom it out to the widest angle you can possibly get, because then you can get some cool foreground stuff in there too. Focusing. Now, this is a whole other thing, and this is the most important part of any image. This will make or break your image every time. So focusing is really important. So here's how we do it with a DSLR camera in the nighttime, and I'll explain a little in the daytime too. So you turn on your monitor and set up your camera. So what I mean by your monitor is the screen that's on the back of your camera. All cameras have them today now. So you turn that on so you can actually see in that. If you're doing this at night, you're going to find a bright star, or if you're doing it in the daytime, focus on something that's way, way, way off in infinity, in the distance. You want as far away a shot as you possibly can get. If you're going to be doing the star trails at a distance with a wide angle lens. If you're going to put something in the foreground that's just a few feet away from you, that's a different technique. But again, that's a little bit more advanced. Right now, we're just talking about beginner stuff. So if you're using the star at night or a planet, anything that's bright and round, push the magnifying glass to magnifying image on the screen. And what I mean by that is on your camera, you're going to have this little magnifying glass here, or you're going to have a plus and a minus on your camera. And that allows you to zoom in to that monitor on the back of your camera. So you want to push the magnifying glass to magnify the image on the screen. Manually focus to a clear and sharp image in the daytime, like we talked about, or if using a star, rack the focuser in and out of focus until the smallest point of light is obtained. And then that will be your focus point for your imaging for the night. Take a test shot, and if the image is clear and the stars are pinpoint, if it is at nighttime, then you're all ready and set to go. Oops. So setting up the intervals. If you're using an intervalometer or the timer on your camera, this is kind of what I would recommend for a beginner. If using built-in timer, set the shutter speed to 30 seconds. Set ISO to 800 to 1600. Set the aperture to the lowest f-stop value that your lens has. Set the delay time between shots or the interval from 3 to 5 seconds. And now the reason I'm saying that is because I tried actually doing star trails and I left a minute between shots. And you will get your star trails. Each time you take a picture, it's a dot, and then it stops. And then your lens opens again, and it's another dot, and then it stops. The longer the space between those dots, the longer the space between the two dots on the camera, on the sensor, making your star trails further apart. So instead of looking like a nice archy line, it's going to look like a dot, 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 dot. That's what it's going to look like. So the longer you have that abbreviation for star trails, then the more of those space you're going to have between each of those images. So the shorter space that you can have between them, the tighter it will be, and the more smooth the arcs will be. Point the camera to a desired part of the sky and take a test shot. If the results are favorable, then shoot away, collecting between 50 and 150 images. If it's not, then just adjust it until you get the proper exposure that you want, or maybe the stars weren't quite right, or my foreground was crooked, or my camera was tilted to one side. This is the time to level all that up, get your composition right, because once you press that button to go with the intervalometer, you're just going to walk away from it and enjoy the night sky while the camera's doing everything. You may want to use JPEGs to start if you're new to this type of photography, as some of the software will not handle raw images, and they'll need to be converted to file formats recognized by the software. This is important because if you're shooting a raw file and you throw it into Starstacks, it doesn't recognize raw. You have to convert those files from raw to either TIFFs or JPEGs or something like that. And if you're not real computer savvy, then it's a step that may frustrate you and confuse you. So if you're just starting out with this and you don't have a lot of editing experience, use JPEGs for the beginning. Because again, we're not pixel peeping these images. We're just looking at a big wide screen field of view of a nice night image. So try using that first. This is a step about this conversion that we can get into in an advanced processing. Right now, again, we're dealing with somebody who's just starting out with this. So part 2 is going to be, how are we doing for time?
No, we're good. It's
We're
28.
good. 8:30 now, so.
Okay, I can go through this. This second part is actually a lot shorter than the first part. The first part was all about acquisition, but it's like anything else, garbage in, garbage out. So you've really got to get it nailed down into how to take these pictures. Once you've got these pictures and you're ready to put the information into the software, you will have a beautiful result every time. So processing, part 2. Is there any questions, by the way? If there's not, I'll keep going. I'm going to take a sip of coffee, by the way.
No, I haven't got any yet, Paul.
Okay, good. I'm assuming everybody's understanding. Processing, part 2, the software. So the 2 softwares that I would recommend for this are either Starstacks, and I'll show you why in a minute, or Photoshop. If you already have Photoshop, then it's almost kind of, you've got it, you might as well use it. However, Starstacks is easier to do. It's less powerful than Photoshop in terms of what you can do with the images, but it will give you an instant result. And it's free. So if you don't want to subscribe to Photoshop or don't have it for any reason, Starstacks is a free download. So this software will cost you nothing at all. So I'm just going to kind of go through the workflows on a Starstacks workflow, and then I'll show you the workflow for a Photoshop workflow. I'll actually process the Starstacks image because it'll take us just literally less than 3 minutes, and I can do one. But I want to explain this, and I put this up on the screen because for those who want to try it, I urge you to screenshot this because I put these steps in 1 through 5 every step of the way, and then when you see me actually do it, this will make sense, and this will be kind of a little cheat sheet for you that you can use if you're going to use Starstacks to stack your stars. So Starstacks workflow is quite simple. So number 1 thing is you're going to click File in the top corner when you see it, and I'll do that right after this. You're going to open your images like you would anything else. You're going to select the images that you want, and you're going to open those. You're just going to hit open. The second thing is on the top of the Starstacks software is 4 little boxes. The next one just says preferences, and all that is you're going to choose. And again, I'll show you this, but you're going to choose one of 2 things. You're either going to choose lighten for a blending mode or gap filling for a blending mode. One of the 2, and I'll explain that in a minute. Then you're going to go to the 4th box on the left. You can't get any simpler than that. Top right, 4th box on the left. Start processing, and that's all. That's it. It does all the heavy lifting for you. It does everything. You just sit back and take a sip of coffee or what you're drinking. If the gap filling is selected as your preference, then you can actually make some adjustments to it after the fact. So you can fine tune it a little bit if you want to do that. Anyway, after you're done that, you just basically save the image for final editing. You're done. That's how simple the Starstacks workflow is. Now, let's look at the Photoshop workflow. It's not so easy, but it's really easy if you're familiar with Photoshop. I'll just run through these quickly. Again, give you enough time to grab your camera and screenshot this if you are a Photoshop user. So first thing is open images and Adobe Bridge. If you have Photoshop, you're going to have Bridge. It's just a place that you load your images into before you open it with Photoshop. It's easier to do it there. It's much more manageable. So open your images in Adobe Bridge. Select and open the images in Camera Raw. So as soon as they're in Adobe Bridge, all you're going to do is click on the first one, click on the last one. That'll select them all, and then you're going to open them up in Camera Raw. Once they're open in Camera Raw, you just simply select the first image and edit it the way that you want to see it. Once it's edited the way you want to see it, you're going to select that image and you're going to hit the Shift key and select all the images. And then you're going to go into, in the first image, there's a little, on the top of that image, there's these little icons that'll pop up, and there's going to be one with 3 little dots on it. So click on the 3 dots and select the sync settings and click on it, OK. And edit will be applied to all the images. So in other words, if you've got 50 images, you're going to basically process one, press this button, and then it's going to take that editing and apply it to every one of those images. Now that's done. That's beauty. And then click done. As soon as you click done, it puts you right back into Bridge. In Bridge, then you're just going to go up and open the Photoshop Load Files tool into Photoshop Layers. That's it. Press the button. It does all the heavy lifting. It throws it into Photoshop. It opens Photoshop for you and puts it all into layers. Very simple. Once it's in layers, all you have to do is highlight the top one, scroll down and highlight the second to the last one. Leave the last one not highlighted. And then in layers, you go to the blending mode and just simply select lighten, press the button, bang, there's your star trails. It's just that simple. And I know I made that sound simple without showing you, so a lot of this may be kind of, but again, I'll show. I'm not going to show Photoshop tonight, but I will show you a Starstacks one, just to show you how easy it is. So I'm going to get out of this, stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to get rid of this on my screen. Sec here. Whoops. Oh. Over to an escape out of it. There we go. Close that down and just bear with me 1 minute here. And I'm just going to open Starstacks.
Could somebody please donate Paul a mouse pad? We take donations for mouse pads.
Yeah.
All right. Oops. Now let me see if I can grab this. There we go. All right.
Not a wireless either, because he'd lose it. It has to be wired so it doesn't go very far.
Now, Star Trails folder. I got to put that over here so I can get at it. All right. Let me just get this in place. Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time. And this is so easy, it's fun. So,
Having a ball.
yeah. Share screen. Okay.
Yes.
So there. So I'm showing you now the Starstacks software. When you open it up, like really, how undaunting is that? I mean, there's virtually nothing there that you got to worry about. This is the simplest way that you can Starstack pictures. It's unbelievable. So let's start. Let's do it. Let's go through our little thing that the screenshot that we showed earlier. The first thing we do is we go to File, and we're going to open our images. So I'm going to open my images, and I've got them in Star Trails file folder, I think is where it is. Yes, there they are. So you notice that these are TIFFs. I had to actually convert these to TIFFs because this software doesn't recognize raw images. So you click on your first one, and you scroll all the way down to the very last one. And now they're all highlighted in blue, which means they're all selected. And then you just open them and watch what happens. Bang, there they are. All my images are now in Starstacks. Wasn't that easy, eh? So here they all are down there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to where it says Preferences. And what preferences is like Photoshop, it's the blending mode. This is where you can choose how you want to interact with your images. So you can go down to here where it says blending mode, take your average, lighten, or gap filling. So I'm going to go to gap filling because it will actually fill in the gaps a little bit more on these star trails. Once I've got that done, I go back over to the fourth box, like it says on the thing, and press the button. Watch what happens in front of your eyes. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's making star trails. And you can watch it being built with all of those images. Isn't that fantastic? So as it's going through, it's just adding another file to another file.
That's
to
cool.
another file.
That's cool, Paul.
Yeah, and it's making the star trails as you're sipping, like I am right now with my coffee.
Yes, sir.
And let's wait till it's done. It won't take very long. This is a really, really fast program because it's designed specifically for this and for comets and stuff. So, but Star Trails is really what its claim to fame is. We're almost done.
Oh, that's slick.
It is really slick. And there it is. Blending is done. So there, it'll turn green for a second, showing you where the mask was because I used that gap. And then what it's going to leave me with is these two controls, one called threshold and one called amount. So if I want to zoom in on my image and have a really deep look at my star trails, I'll just go up to here where it says 1:1. That'll give me 100% of the image, which is right there. And now I can see how my star trails look. They actually look quite nice. So this processing did a really good job using the gap filler. But if we want to use the threshold here, let me just whack it up a little higher. And you might not have seen it on your screen, but you will see every time I adjust it, you're going to see the star trails. They're going to have little green lines on them. Those green lines are selecting stars based on their brightness value. So the lower you go, the more or the higher you go, the more of those green stars it'll select. The more of those brightness values it'll select. It'll go deeper and deeper. If you choose between number 3 on this bar right here and number 7, which is what Starstacks recommend that you try to keep it in that parameter, because if you go too far one way or too far the other, you'll get artifacts or not enough adjustment. So they say somewhere around there seems to be a good starting gate. And then when you use your amount slider, this is the amount of this threshold we can add. If I crank it right up, things get quite a bit brighter, don't they? If I crank it all the way down, things will get a little bit duller. But what it's doing is taking that wide dynamic range of brightness, and it's either expanding it or contracting it, whatever you want your star trails to look like. So I like it somewhere around here, and that looks good. So once I'm done with that and I'm thinking, you know what, this is good, I'm happy with this, I'm just going to go back to my 1:1 ratio, or my original image rather, sorry. There we go. And I'm going to go up to my file and I'm going to save as, and like any other picture you take from your computer, your camera, or wherever you want to do it, call it what you want, call it Starstacks Star Trail, and throw it on your desktop, and then put it into your favorite editing software if you like.
Find it again.
and then share it with your friends and neighbors. And it's just that simple. The Photoshop one, I'm not going to get into today because it does take a little longer, but there are more things you can do with the star trails prior to having that master frame that you can edit afterwards. So other than that, that is my story on star trails.
That was cool, Paul. Good presentation, buddy. Nicely done.
Thank you.
That explains it pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, it does.
It's a lot of fun to do, and they're not hard to do. So like I say, most of the things that I showed you and what you need to do these, most people have that already. So really, it's just a matter of going like we did the other night at the beach. Just plunk the camera down, pick what you want to shoot, set the thing up, and then we just laughed all night long, had a good old time while it was collecting information, right?
No, that's awesome. Awesome presentation. Yeah, that should be right from beginner right out. So we should have lots of those coming into our photos page, I would think.
I hope so, because it's something, like I say, it'd be nice when we come back full time again in the fall or whatever we're going to end up doing, to have some of these things, see how people did with that. I'd love to see.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Paul. Great presentation. So remember now, folks, you can go back. Paul was suggesting doing some screenshots through it, but These both these videos or both channels here have all of our Sunday Night Astronomy Show episodes ever since we started. But we don't want to talk about the ones in the beginning. Forget about the first
There's some fun ones, though.
Forget about the first 5 or so. But anything after that, they're all up on YouTube, and they'll be there for as long as I can remember. So anyway, yeah, lots of information there. So Bridget says, very informative, retiring soon. So there's a project. There you go.
Perfect.
And Corinne's on here too. She's just going to try before the summer's out. Good stuff.
Excellent.
Andrew said, looks so simple. I have never tried because I thought it would be really complicated. There you go. So that is that software free, Paul, you said? The Starstacks?
The Starstacks is free, yeah.
Awesome.
I just downloaded it while Paul was talking about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, I have my copy.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Great presentation, really. Okay, how about we move on to Bino Bud now?
Oh, Bino Bud.
Yay.
Our
Yes,
new
we can do
Bino Bud.
We're finally going to find out what the target is.
All right. Is he
Maybe
coming up there? It should be coming up there.
Here he is.
All right. Binocular target of the week this week. Everybody has seen it, right? Binoculars or naked eye. It's a simple target to get. You've all seen it. I'll guarantee you when I show you the next slide, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So binocular target of the week this week by Bino Bud is the Funday Nebula. It is everywhere. It's hard to miss. You can photograph this. You can look at it. You can look at it in binoculars. But guess what? It's the biggest nebula you will ever look at with a pair of binoculars. So we are talking about the Funday Nebula. And this week, the timing is perfect because it's out there right now and you can see it even during the daytime. So, as sometimes happens at star parties, an evening was lost due to the weather. And in this case, Saturday evening was basically shut down due to fog or mist conditions, which the participants at the star party dubbed the Funday Nebula. When the Funday Nebula is up, it's time for laughs and socializing, that's for sure. Now, how do I find it in the sky? You just gotta step outside, take your binoculars and look anywhere. Trust me, when it's upon us, you know it's there. So it's no trouble finding the Funday Nebula ever whatsoever. When you do find it, what will you see? Well, not a whole lot of anything. You might have some luck and look down the road and see a pole lit up or two, but other than that, you're not going to see a whole lot. But I'll tell you one thing, it's a consistent view from one side of the binoculars to the other. In 10 by 50s, what will you see? Pretty much nothing. Okay, you might get lucky. There could be a dim glow of the moon coming through. You never know, but for the most part, the Funday Nebula is from one side of the binos to the other, and it never changes. Compared to the full moon, well, it's pretty big. It covers the whole field of view, and the moon only covers a little bit. So, yep, you'll be able to get it in your binoculars with no issue whatsoever. And guess what? Yep, it's the Funday Nebula. I just couldn't resist that one. So that's binocular target of the week by Bino Bud.
That's a seasonal one too.
It definitely is.
Oh man,
Wow.
that is hilarious.
I told you it was an original one.
What will you see?
Oh, that's funny.
Nothing. Yeah, the Funday Nebula. We've been
Easy to see in binoculars, I'll tell you that. Anybody can find it.
You got a segment or cut out this segment and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's well, we've been there and we have socialized and laughed at.
That's right. Everybody's witnessed it. It's the easiest target to find.
It is what it is.
But you know what? That building went supernova.
Yes,
Yeah.
it definitely did.
Taking that shot there, looking that through the camera. Wow, cool.
Oh man.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, that's an easy one for everybody. This is kind of a beginner show. Everybody can get
That's
that
right.
one. Yeah.
Got beginner targets for everybody tonight, isn't it?
Okay, maybe we go from there to a how we go to a where are we gonna go next?
Whatever you want.
What's up? What's
Not
up?
bad.
Oh my gosh,
What's up?
that was so funny.
Yes, sir. Okay. What do we got coming up this week?
Not a whole lot with these guys.
Yeah, well, here's my first slide.
There you go. We got a week of fun in Nebula.
So what's
Hey,
up this?
on the nut, oh, what's that on the June the 7th?
Yeah, maybe just cloudy periods, maybe. So, ooh,
There's a full funded nebula there.
I mean, I know we need the rain, but oh well. You know,
Oh, well.
this makes a better week.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Anyway, okay, that's our forecast for the week. But for those who do have clear skies, we can talk a little bit about it. Starting to bring this one up now a little bit just to show us where we are. This is our location. If we're looking down on top of the solar system, we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and a small little square here. Then, of course, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Our location here determines what we're going to see for rise and set times of the planets, when we can see them, if they're behind the sun, in front of the sun, whatever. But that's courtesy heavensabove.com. So you can find that there. It's a nice little map called Solar System Chart if you happen to go there. From that, I get this information, which is one called the Planet Summary. So this tells us all about the planets, their location, how far away they are from the sun, their brightness. Go down here to the rise and set times. These are the ones that we pay attention to probably the most right here. Also, what's called inferior conjunction, when that particular planet is between us and the sun. That can only be Mercury and Venus, of course. But the rest of the planets are at opposition. When the sun, the Earth, and the planet are lined up in a row, that means that planet is up all night long. Superior conjunction, when that planet is on the opposite side of the sun from us. Maximum eastern or maximum western elongation just applies to Mercury and Venus when they are the farthest east or the farthest west in our sky that they can be seen. And then their closest approach and farthest approach. So, but for us, this chart really reveals that Mercury is low in the morning sky right now, just before daybreak. We can see that it rises around 4:45. Sunrise is right around 5 right now. So, or 5:20, I guess, or so. So you don't have very much time to catch Mercury before the sun rises for sure. It will get a little bit better over the next week or so. Venus is still very bright in our evening sky. It's remained there now till about July. It doesn't set till a little bit after midnight now, but it is closing in on the western part of the horizon fairly quickly. Mars is a very dim object in our evening sky. They're both up in Cancer right now. You can pick it out. It is a reddish type object. You will see an orange-red object if you look at it with binoculars for sure. Jupiter rises about 90 minutes now before daybreak, so it's up fairly nice and high before daybreak. And it's not at opposition until November, which means our best viewing for Jupiter is going to be in the fall. Saturn too rises before Jupiter at around 2 o'clock now. So that's a few hours before sunrise. So you should have some nice views of Saturn, and it isn't at opposition or at its best viewing until the end of August. So we've got nice end of summertime planets here, Saturn and Jupiter both. Jupiter will actually be good right up until Christmas. So that's what's coming up for the planets wise. Of course, today was the full strawberry moon. Arrive either Saturday, June 3rd or Sunday, June 4th, depending on where you live. Those are the Maritimes. Turns full at 12:41 a.m. on the 4th and rises in the east-southeast at 10:22 p.m. Anyway, that was last night. That's tonight. We have 4 supermoons. Still, the moon always looks brilliant and big at the horizon. Whether or not it is a supermoon, that's just because of that moon effect that we have, moon illusion effect. Also today, Venus is at its greatest eastern elongation. So it reaches the greatest eastern elongation, or the farthest east that it can be in our evening sky. After that date, now Venus will start to appear a little bit lower, start to drop down here fairly quickly in the sky each evening until it disappears from our evening view around mid-July. So really nice views of Venus right now, though. It's almost like a half crescent shape. So all week long, Jupiter and Saturn are our morning sky. If you're an early riser, you may want to check out the ring beauty Saturn along with the giant planet Jupiter before sunrise. Saturn rises around 2 a.m. and should be in good viewing position before sunrise. Jupiter rises around 4 a.m. now, about 90 minutes before sunrise. You can try them both with binoculars as well. There's our view Wednesday. So we've got a nice waning gibbous moon here going to join Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury in the morning sky. That's at 4:50 a.m. So that's just a little bit before sunrise, but still might be possible. All week long, our evening naked eye planets Our evening sky continues to present brilliant Venus, now between Gemini and Cancer, while the much dimmer red planet Mars rests in Cancer. Venus will continue to be our evening star until about end of July, and it'll be some time before we get a nice view of Mars. So just that'll come. Of course, we still get this going on. Mars passing through the Beehive cluster all week. Actually, it's coming to the end of it there now in Messier 44. So there was a couple of opportunities. I did see a picture I've got from Dave Hoskins tonight of him capturing Mars passing through the Beehive. It's about a cluster of about 1,000 stars, a beautiful open star cluster, easily visible in binoculars. Open star clusters are clusters that are gravitationally bound and are created out of the same star-forming nebula, such as stars in the Orion Nebula. The Beehive is one of the nearest open star clusters to our sun. It has a larger population of stars than most other nearby clusters, and the Beehive's distance is about 577 light years from Earth. Friday and Saturday, the moon's near Saturn. Watch the early morning skies on both Friday and Saturday as a waning moon greets the ring beauty Saturn. There are the views that you should expect under cloudy skies. Well, maybe clear skies by that time. Who knows? That might clear up. Anyway, it should be nice views of those for those of you who do have clear sky. Shoot the Moon contest closes tomorrow at midnight. So any of those who have sent in entries, if you have taken a picture of the moon and you haven't quite sent it in, please don't send it to my Facebook page. Facebook has a glitch right now. I'm not able to download any images from Facebook. If you send me an image from Facebook, there's no way I can capture it. So it has to go to my page, my Gmail address, which is astronomybythebay@gmail.com. So any of the kids' images that you're sending in and any of the adult ones, please send them to that address because of the issue with Facebook right now. And it does put them all in one place so I can gather them all together, make sure I get everybody's entry. Again, the contest closes tomorrow at midnight. Draw takes place next week on our show on June 11th. And a special thanks again, of course, to Cliff Valley Astronomy for their sponsorship in our contest here. So we always like to look at this. This is Lisa's lookup. Lisa puts out this great chart every month about what's happening in the month for June, this one. She passes by the full moon date here, the Venus at greatest elongation. So she gives the event, the date of the event, the peak time of the event, and then what you need to see it with, naked eye, binoculars, or a telescope. So that's available at Lisa's Lookup, and she's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mastodon, and you can find her at Ruby Moonbeams. Thank you, Lisa, for that chart every month. We appreciate it. And here's our local chart, June calendar for St. John Astronomy Club and the RASC NB. Kurt Nason puts out this calendar for us every month, I guess. It's about a month and a half worth of data here, but here's the week coming up, of course. So you can go find that. You can download it right from the website. Easily just click on it and download it to your computer. So that's what we got for this week.
A dwarf plant.
Wow.
That's good. Oh my.
Hey,
It's one of those nights.
one of those nights.
It is.
I got a few laughs. Okay. How about from there? We're going to go to Rosanna's fun fact next.
All right, we can do that. All right, let me see if I can get into my share screen thing again.
Bing, 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 bing.
And this is this week's.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Hey, welcome back, Rosanna, to another great fun fact. This one, I just, this one's like them all. This is great, but this one's going to be kind of interesting and fun at the same time. So let's get into it. So Rosanna writes, "Hi, Paul. So instead of Back to the Future this week, we are back to Mars, which is in our future. In a recent New York Times article about Elizabeth Holmes heading to prison this past week for defrauding investors out of over $700 million. Mars was listed as one of the several fantasies, and I quote, ripe for the next huckster that comes along. Some Silicon Valley promises are so sweet, we just can't get enough of them. Immortality, crypto, flying cars, Mars, digital harmony, wealth beyond compare. Yes, Mars will be a challenge, but unlike Elizabeth's home blood analysis machine, which doesn't exist, many steps are being taken and machines are being built to ensure safe travel to the dusty red hot vacation like spot. Welcome to Mars, terrorist information. It's going to be like that, I betcha. Problem number 3,689. I'm just guessing how many things might need to be solved. The journey to Mars will expose travelers and their electronic equipment to 6 to 9 months of cosmic radiation. The Curiosity rover turned into its radiation detector during its trip to Mars and measured an average of 1.8 millisieverts per day. The average annual dose from cosmic radiation here on Earth totals at 0.33 millisieverts. A trip to Mars would expose travelers to a whopping 330 millisieverts. That's quite a lot of stuff. Now, am I going the right way here? Just one sec. There we go. So, well, this is just a problem to be solved, and there are 3 possible solutions to the table so far, according to the article in the May-June issue of Popular Mechanics. Number 1 is lightweight armor. The main obstacle to shielding spacecraft and astronauts from radiation is weight. Advances in material science have made a physical shield more appealing. A 2002 study found the seldom used silicone polymer. Now she says, I apologize in advance for this next word, and here it is. Now give me 1 second. Okay. Perhydropolis. Yeah, you're right. It's spelled here just to show you how much it's spelled. Perhydropolysilazane. Perhydropolis silazane. Okay, we're gonna call it that. We're gonna call it PS. PS is good absorber for X-rays, gamma radiation, and neutrons. Another 2020 NASA study found that mixing oxidized metal powder, rust, into polymer and then incorporating it into commonly used coatings helps repel charged particles while adding minimal weight. Just for fun, I asked Google if rust could be used as a sunscreen. Surprise! A research team has developed an iron oxide-based ultraviolet absorbing powder material by stabilizing normally unstable colorless UV absorbing dinuclear iron species in porous silica, silicon dioxide. If its performance can be further improved, this material may serve as a viable alternative to potentially carcinogenic titanium dioxide, or TiO2, which has been widely used in cosmetics and sunscreens. Now, possibility number 2. A charged spider web. This may have been done on Star Trek already. I'll have to open that up. There we go.
Shields up.
It shields up. An elegant solution to radiation could come from unfurling a large, lightweight gossamer structure that is charged to a high negative voltage to repel all inbound positively charged ions. This electrostatic shield would guard against proton storms caused by explosions from the sun, coronal mass ejections. The ship could rely on another system for day-to-day protection. And a third thought based on an idea of, if a magnetic field protects the Earth from space radiation, why not bring one to the trip on the trip to Mars? This actually has more substance to it, as phase 1 of a NASA study in 2018 has developed a 3D relativistic particle code to evaluate magnetic shielding of GCR and evaluated a wide range of magnetic topologies and shielding approaches from nested tori to large plasma-based magnetospheric configurations. This is called magnetospheric dipolar torus, or MDT, or DTM in the second picture. There's the second picture. If all this isn't enough to think about, then there's also the little tidbit NASA has not really spent a lot of time on fractional gravity. They've only done it on the moon, which is 1/6 of our gravity, and only for a few days. Gravity on Mars is 38% of that on Earth. Oh, studies have found that microgravity can alter the shape of the brain, muscles, intestines, and individual heart cells. An even stranger effect may be lurking as researchers in 2020 found patterns of change in the genomes of nematode worms that have gone to space. These genetic changes include a decrease in the thickness of muscular filaments, which may help explain why astronauts lose muscle mass in space. The worms' cytoskeletal layouts also evolved to be shorter and fatter than worms that stayed home. Going to space will not help you lose weight. Yep, he's out there again ever since he returned from Mars. Interestingly, this past week, a record number of humans were in space, risking their muscle mass and genome structures. A total of 16 people were in Earth orbit aboard China's Tiangong space station and the ISS and SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule. This broke previous record of 14 set in 2021. I'm sure any genome changes once they return won't be noticeable at all. Yeah, not one little bit, Rosanna. And that is this week's. Yeah.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Yay.
That's
Now
awesome.
that was an interesting fact indeed, and I'm going to find that word again. Hang on. I almost had it figured out on my own. Hydropoly.
Expialidocious.
Yeah.
It's a word, man. I'm telling you.
Oh,
Anyway, thank you, Rosanna. That was an interesting fun fact as usual.
as usual. Yeah. Thank you, Rosanna. Awesome. Okay, let's go from there to it'll be interesting times for us out there. Like when we get out into the other parts of this galaxy, if we ever get out to the other parts of the galaxy, and we were having trouble just getting back to the moon, but when we get back out there in Mars, I mean, there are a lot of things that we're going to have to be thinking about, right, for safety wise. Okay, let's go to some photos.
Here we go.
Where's your guitar, Paul? Coming up.
Oh my. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum,
Okay.
ba-dum,
What do you got? Oh, Mike's got something. Okay.
bum,
I'm playing the Casagrain.
He's a master of the Casagrain.
Woohoo!
Okay, here we go.
The sun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got,
He's active.
yeah, it's very active. This is from Kathy Adams back on the 28th.
Nice.
Lots of science spots. Look at this huge one here. Yeah, incredible. Nice to see the solar activity increasing. It's quite a bit stronger than what they had expected for sure.
It's getting closer to the center. Like the spots are starting to center more.
Yeah, that's usually the indication that it's winding up in the cycle, right? We're not expected to hit maximum, I think, now till late 2025. So still got some, and then of course we got time on the other side as we ramp down the opposite side of the cycle. So lots of
auroras.
Of course, we got the solar eclipse next year too, April 8th. So if we get some clear sky, you might get a bunch of these as the sun is being eclipsed by the moon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. Here's the sun again on the 28th. This is them all labeled, all the spots. And we're gonna go from there to the moon on the 29th.
Nice.
Detail.
Yeah, she gives us some really nice detail. And the moon from the 31st.
Right on.
Let's go. Was that Chris Benoit's? I'm sorry, that might have been Chris Benoit's. Yes, it was. Kathy Adams. This is Chris Benoit's waxing moon. Oh, I got wrong order there.
Okay, that was
Kathy's, yeah, from the 31st.
Full moon. Very nice.
Yeah, this one is actually Chris Benoit.
CB.
Yeah, here we go.
It's good.
And he captured Venus there too. So look at Venus.
That's sweet.
Nice, eh? So yeah, I mean, Venus and Mercury both show us phases like the moon does. So there we are.
That's interesting to see that for the first time because you don't expect to see it.
That's right. Yeah. Very soft looking.
Hmm.
Nice, Chris. Good stuff. From there, we're going to go to Joey Craswell's capture of M57. Quick image of M57, he says, 10 by 180 seconds, stacked in ASI air, stretched in Ciril, SIRIL. Deconvolution, the Astro Sharp, then final tweaks in Photoshop, fun and easy target to capture, he says.
Oh, nice job.
That's nice.
Got the center star.
Yeah, get the central star. His
So-
star shapes look really good too.
For those wondering, that's a nebula, and that's the remnants of a dead or dying star, or it's the birthplace of new stars, like is in the Orion Nebula. So in this case here, this would be similar to what our sun will go through in 4.5 billion years when our sun ends its life. And there's another capture from Mr. Gadet, Robert Gadet.
Nice.
Nicely done, Robert.
Yeah, nice detail.
I move there to David Hoskin. His ring, no, sorry, this one is his sun shot, obviously.
It's really hard to believe that you know, when we look in the sky, we see millions of these things, trillions, whatever the amount is, but we're looking at things like this. Our sun is no different.
Yeah. So much detail there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is just another star. So.
Yeah.
Star. And here's his ring nebula.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a tiny target.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. There's the D2 smart telescope. Not too bad for 24 millimeter aperture, he says. So.
Wow.
That's kind of what it looks like through the telescope, eh?
Yeah, it's like push button watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dwarf, yeah.
Just see how they work out. Yeah. And here's this capture of the Pinwheel Galaxy, MO101 with the supernova.
Yeah.
So we had a supernova. So the supernovas will sometimes outshine the whole galaxy. In this case, it looks like it is pretty well.
Yeah, it's getting brighter than most of the stars in it.
Yeah.
Image with his D2 smart telescope again, 200 at 15 second subs at a gain of 60 with UHC filter.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
And this
Dave
one is
Smart.
this is from Dave Smart's capture with his equipment. This is what he's using this to capture his sun with.
Yeah.
Look there's his solar scope and his camera hooked up to the laptop. And a nice blanket over the top, a towel over the top to allow you to see it in the daytime.
It gets warm under there.
Yeah.
Wipes the sweat off too.
Yeah, it gets warm under there, that's for sure.
All feature for sure. Good stuff, David.
Excellent.
Okay, we're gonna go from there to Jocelyn Dorel, which has this one here. No, I'm sorry. This is I got a good thing I got the name of her. This is David Hoskins with his Mars and M44.
Yeah.
Capture.
Oh,
Beehive cluster. Yeah, so Mars passing through the beehive. So it was going from here to here over the next number of days, but over the week actually. Nice to see a planet moving through something like that.
Yeah. I hope it beehived.
This is Matthew Dupre's capture of
Sadar.
yes.
Nice shot.
Yeah.
Sadar region.
Very nice shot.
Imaging went well over 2 hours on the Sadar region. And then his Cygnus setup. Oh, this is the one from, he's getting the wrong order for some reason. Jocelyn, I had all these in the right order. Jocelyn Dorvel, here's her capture of M01 and supernova.
Oh,
well,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bright, eh?
Yeah.
It's brighter
it's
than
big.
before.
his capture, I'm sorry, Jocelyn Dorvel's capture of the M01 supernova 2023 IXF, it's called.
Nice.
And nice to see those.
Mm.
Imagine what it would be like close to that. You wouldn't want to be. Here's Matthew Dupre set up running on Cygnus the other night, he says.
Yeah. And he's using a hyperstar, I believe. It's nice.
Nice setup, Matthew.
Nice rig, yeah.
Jeremiah Harding sent this in. Good day. He says, sun pick is of my pick of the sun versus NASA's on the same day. May 30th. Take a video capture with a DSLR attached to the 150 millimeter Dob with a solar filter.
Right on.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
neat.
close.
And here's this lunar pick was through my through a 32 millimeter Plossl eyepiece using my cell phone adapter with an XYZ adapter. on the eyepiece. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Good what a cell phone can do now, eh?
Oh,
Crazy.
it's just unbelievable.
Stuff, Jeremiah. Thanks for sending those in. I forget who this one is. This is Duckman Arsenos, capture of the moon,
Nice.
and his capture of sunset.
Oh, that's pretty.
You know,
Yeah.
his been through Facebook, so I couldn't
Oh,
get
wow.
what's happening in Facebook. I can't get the proper size image, but I can enlarge them a bit. Anyway, nicely
Sure.
done.
Looks really good. Yeah.
And we got this one from Mary Ann Gillette. Or is this Tracy's voice? This is Mary Ann Gillette's shot of the moon for the contest. She submitted this one, so I grabbed a few of them for that as well.
Right on.
I'm gonna take a look and see. This is Tracy's voice capture of the moon with the ISS over to the left over here.
Oh, there.
Like the spikes.
Yeah, she got the ISS passing by.
Hmm.
She done, Tracy. This one is from Melanie Dickinson. Her entry for the moon contest.
Yes, sir.
She didn't take much. I mean, just capture a photo of the moon. And this is from Lisa Fanning, I believe. Yeah, Lisa's picture. Hi, Chris. Here's my entry for the moon contest taken on the 25th from Keyport, New Jersey.
Awesome.
Nice.
Moon
Yeah.
and Venus.
No luck at night these days, she says, with clear sky. So here's the almost full first quarter moon taken in the evening. So well done.
Nice.
sir.
Thanks, Lisa. Now, this is from Caesar Second Seas. He says, for the contest, a strawberry full moon. There you
Our
go.
moon. There you
Wow, that looks like a strawberry now, doesn't it?
go.
The Celestron Nexstar 6 SE, 25 millimeter eyepiece with a Mars filter. There you go.
Right
Yeah.
on.
That's awesome.
Well done.
This little cream whip on top of that, and we're all set.
Got her made. Yeah.
Okay, and I did get, I've got a large number of children's images, so I'm just going to share a few.
I love
This
it.
one's from Blakely, age 7. I'll have a large number here to show, but I've got a large number in the file that I've captured. I'm trying to put up a couple of posts. I was starting out with one picture a day, but they started coming in so many that I'm trying to put up a couple a day on as my cover photo on my page. So even after the contest ends, I'll be still running these because I got a number of them to show, but I'd like to get them on there to let the kids have a look. So here's one from Grace, age 7.
Oh, wow.
Nicely done.
Yes,
Everybody likes Saturn. Everybody likes Saturn. There's a 7-year-old Lucia. This is an asteroid.
Neat.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Here's Liam's drawing of an asteroid. He's age 7.
Hope it misses us.
Yeah. And here's the one from 7-year-old Maddie. So
Oh, right on.
really do love these. When I get the chance to open them up and take a look at them, you have a big smile on my face, and I get a chance to take a look and share them. So I'll be sharing as many of these as I can over the next couple of weeks, probably. It's gonna
Yeah.
take time to get them all out there, but
From a kid's perspective, it's a much happier place, isn't it?
oh,
Isn't it?
absolutely, yeah, 100%. And I
Very
mean,
adventurous.
Yeah, and that too.
coming along with them has been, yeah. So here's a rocket ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no question. It's just awesome.
On the way to Saturn.
Yeah. Well done. Okay, and from there, I'm going to look at a couple more here from Nancy McMillan. So it wasn't just entries like this. I was accepting digital entries as well, and a couple like this.
All right. The good old days.
Nancy says, here's the rocket ship our kids Sunny 3 and Phoebe 1 built and decorated with our help.
Awesome. I love the helmet.
That's awesome.
I got to get one.
They put on their NASA helmet, courtesy of Emma McPhee,
Oh, wow.
their grandmother, and pushed the different buttons they drew on the inside to fly the rocket ship through space.
Excellent.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to include that one as well. That's a lot of
Be the
work there.
best trip ever.
Awesome. So thanks very much for everybody. So thanks for all your images. And of course, you can send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. Please don't send them to my Facebook address. I'd love to collect them there, but Facebook has a big glitch. I'm really frustrated about it. No one from Facebook is answering my requests, of course. So I've been struggling now for 2 weeks to get photos captured, but I'm getting them sent to the Gmail address. They're all being picked up there. So please send them to that address, and we'd love to share them with you. There we go.
Here you are.
Not too bad at all.
That's what they said. That's another night right there. Okay, so then in closing tonight, Paul, thanks very much for a great talk, buddy.
Well done.
Well done. And if you guys want to capture try Paul's technique, you can send your photos into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. We'd love to see them, see the results. Don't forget too that both of these displays are captured, like the videos are available later on YouTube and Facebook both. So if you want to go back and review the talk that was there.
I want to see your Fun and Nebula photos as well.
Okay, so we have 3 more shows, I guess, before we take a summer break, guys.
3?
We didn't have. Okay, so maybe on next week's, we're talking about next week's program, thinking maybe spend some time, we're going to give some time giving away prizes, of course, on our Shoot the Moon contest. We got all those prizes to give away. And we'll take a look at, we might be taking a look at Bino Bud's best summertime targets. I think that's what we'll talk about next week. The best of Bino Bud for the summer. And maybe a little bit of a talk about binoculars as well. So that, like Paul's talk was on star trails tonight and how to do some astrophotography. Binocular talk next week. The following week, we might get into what the best events are to enjoy through the summertime, and then we'll maybe do a Q&A or something like that. Maybe in the last week, I'm not sure yet, but we'll chat a little bit. We only got 3 shows left anyway. So anyway, so then on next week's program, we'll probably do a little bit of binocular talk. So we'll see how that goes. Special thanks then again, of course, for all of your support out there. Of course, special thanks to Rosanna as well for continued contributions. Rosanna, really do appreciate it. Couldn't be the same show without you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Special thanks goes out to Trudy and all those who continually share our program out there, MB Stormer Weather Center, all those folks. We also hope that all of you who joined us from the Rogers Network enjoyed our program tonight. If you would like more information about the night sky, you can find me at astronomybythebay.ca. Remember too, we do love getting your photos, so send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to include them on our next broadcast. Get your images in by midnight tomorrow night for the contest. And please let your friends and family know too that we will be back here next Sunday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook to entertain you on astronomy and the wonders of the night sky. So for now then, from Paul, Mike, and myself, wish you a safe and happy week, everybody. Lots of clear skies. Yeah, always say that anyway. Anyway, hope to we're like your eyes to be the skies. Folks, wake up. Good everyone.